as inflation dropped in the United States. Is this slowdown enough for the Fed to lower interest rates? Will Trump fire CC Chairman Gary Gensler if he wins the U.S. presidential race? Will Bitcoin respect this defense zone? Are we ready to surpass all-time highs? Today and tomorrow, the United States Federal Reserve, or Fed, will hold its monetary policy meeting where interest rates are expected to remain stable. This meeting comes after a period of 7 consecutive sessions without changes in rates, following a series of hikes aimed at combating inflation. The last time the Fed raised rates was in July 2023, completing a cycle of 10 consecutive increases that began in March 2022, raising rates from near zero to a range of 5 to 5.25%. These increases were a direct response to the rise in U.S. inflation, which peaked at 9.1% in June 2022, the highest level in decades. The recent stability in rates suggests that the Fed believes its aggressive policy has started to yield results, with inflation approaching the central bank's 2% target. Recent economic data has shown encouraging signs. The Personal Consumption Expenditures (PCE) price index preferred by the Fed increased by only 2.5% in June, after a 2.6% rise in May. Moreover, overall inflation since March has shown an annualized increase of just 1.5%, half a percentage point below the Fed's target. These figures have led policymakers to consider the possibility of a rate cut as early as September, provided upcoming data aligns with this trend. Jim Bullard, former president of the St. Louis Fed, commented, "The Fed is only 50 basis points away from the target, so it seems not too far off." This perspective suggests that while the Fed remains cautious about the exact timing for a rate cut, there is growing confidence that U.S. inflation is returning to manageable levels. This week's decision will be crucial in determining the future of the country's monetary policy and its impact on the global economy. In a recent event, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump promised significant changes in cryptocurrency policies if he is elected in the upcoming U.S. elections in November 2024. At the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, Trump presented a bold plan that includes removing SEC Chairman Gary Gensler and establishing a presidential council on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. "The moment I take office, the persecution stops and the weaponization against your industry ends," he declared, emphasizing the importance of the U.S. leading the Bitcoin technological revolution to prevent countries like China from dominating the sector. He emphasized the need for the United States to become the world's Bitcoin capital and a cryptocurrency superpower with clear and fair regulations that favor the sector's growth. He promised to fire Gary Gensler, end Operation Choke Point 2.0, and establish a national strategic reserve of Bitcoin. Additionally, he stressed the necessity of substantial electricity for Bitcoin mining, proposing the use of fossil fuels and nuclear energy to ensure sufficient and environmentally friendly energy production. On the other hand, current Vice President Kamala Harris, a possible presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, seems to be reconsidering her stance on cryptocurrencies after a history of hostile policies. Although Harris canceled her participation in the Bitcoin 2024 conference, it is expected that the Democratic Convention in August will confirm her candidacy. Some experts believe that this shift in focus towards the crypto world is an attempt to gain the sector's support, which is vital to having a chance in these elections. Independent presidential candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. has also presented a Bitcoin-friendly plan, proposing an executive order to transfer the alleged 204,000 Bitcoins held by the Fed to a strategic reserve and buy 500 Bitcoins daily until reaching at least 4 million Bitcoins. Kennedy argued that this would allow the United States to achieve a dominant position in the crypto sector that no other country could usurp. These proposals clearly reflect a growing competition among candidates to attract the crypto community in the upcoming elections. Let's bring up the Bitcoin chart in the daily time frame to show how, on a macro level, we are still within the upward channel. At the same time, this downward impulse is being corrected with the complex corrective pattern, where we've already seen the W, the Y, and we are currently experiencing a macro Z. The Z is still in play as its guideline, which is a defense zone in this case, has not been broken. Therefore, as long as this defense zone remains intact, we will continue to be positive on a macro level in the crypto ecosystem. If we zoom into the 4-hour time frame, we can observe that after the upward impulse, a complex corrective pattern has also formed with the W, the Y, and the Z. In this case, the Z has already broken its guideline and even recognized the guideline of the corrective pattern. Thus, on a macro level, we are waiting for the price to break this guideline forcefully to replicate this upward impulse. We expect this replication to take us to the top of our macro channel, but remember, we are still talking about the macro level. Now, let's zoom in a bit more and move to the 1-hour chart to see what we can observe. Looking at the 1-hour chart, we see a strong upward impulse followed by the development of an ascending channel. We will wait for this ascending channel to continue its development and then possibly enter a range phase. We will expect this ascending channel to continue its development, break the guideline we mentioned earlier, then enter a range phase and seek a climatic action where we might see, why not, the surpassing of all-time highs and the recognition of the channel's top. However, we must be very alert to how the price reacts to this micro defense zone, as we will expect it to be respected. It's possible we might see traps around this zone before continuing upward. Now let's move on to analyze Ethereum, but first.
Welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity.
We are now seeing the Ethereum chart on the daily time frame. Notice how, just like Bitcoin, we remain in the ascending channel. The macro bullish Z correcting this bearish impulse with the corrective pattern labeled as W, Y, and Z, and Z is also still in play. We say the Z is still in play because it continues to respect its guideline. Zooming into the 1 hour time frame, we see that this supply line resulting from this distribution process is still being respected, and this indicates that the preceding sellers are still defending their positions. We will wait for this supply line to break with strength. Therefore, we are looking for the replication of this impulse. But of course, this does not mean it will happen now. We could easily see the price continue in a range, respecting our marked defense zone, possibly even going below and creating a trap, and then continuing its upward path. Notice how, if we zoom in a bit more, we can see that after this bearish impulse, a corrective pattern might be forming, where we could start labeling the W and the Y, and why not, in this range we expect to develop, then seek the Z, which will break this indicated guideline. Now, let's move on to Cardano in the 1 hour time frame. Here, we are assessing a bullish accumulation process, which we expect to break upward sooner rather than later. Zooming in a bit, we can see that we have an upward impulse that is beginning to be corrected, and we can already label the W and the Y. Therefore, we are in search of a Z. This bearish Z that we are expecting could easily reach the first institutional target of this mini distribution process. We have calculated this target at 0.37. Then, if it breaks upward with strength, it would imply the replication of the impulse and the breaking of this creep. Therefore, the completion of this entire bullish accumulation process. Now, let's move on to the dot chart, also in the 1 hour time frame. Here we are evaluating a bullish accumulation process. So we will wait for this creek we've defined here to break upwards at some point. But before that happens, if we zoom in a bit on this last segment, we can see that we have a bearish impulse that can be followed by a descending channel. So we might expect a channel to form here that could give us a climactic action below these recent lows, and then yes, turn around and break this creek. If you like this advanced technical analysis, let me know in the comments. Also, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to not miss future analyses. Share this video with your friends and other trading and cryptocurrency communities so that more people can continue growing in their trading operations. Good luck with your positions, and see you next time.